let's talk intentions for 2026. Where we may splurge and where we are definitely going to be moving with intention in order to prepare ourselves for our second life. Let's get into it. So in 2026, y'all, I am definitely going to move so different, okay? I have a couple of buckets where I am definitely focusing in and being very intentional as I am planning for my second life. So we talked about in previous videos. Let me start first with saying the no buy January, okay? What we did, how we're sitting right now, and then we'll go into splurging and saving and the intentional moves in 2026, okay? So for starters, I finished the no buy January. Yay! Okay. I knew I was going to be successful at doing that because honest to goodness, going into January, there was not really much I had my eye on. So my main goal was I wanted to be intentional about establishing the second life bucket. And I wanted to be able to put as much money as possible into that bucket. So let's dive into that very first thing, okay? The establishment of the second life bucket. So I have done that, and I will show you here what I did and what my first deposit was. So in January, I told you guys how I was going to be very intentional about not buying any clothes, shoes, bags, okay? And I did not buy any of that stuff in January. What I did was I created a list, which is so funny. The list is mad small, y'all. So I really don't have an incentive to really go and buy anything for real, because I'm not really pressed for any of the things on my list. Okay, so first let's take a look at the second life bucket and the deposit that was made. So here we are. This is my initial deposit for the month of January. All right, I had a list, like I said, and on the list I will share with you the couple of things that I had written down that I wanted to intentionally add into my wardrobe. And those things, like I said, I'm not super pressed for, but they are just kind of like, like to have things. And so because I'm not pressed, I have not pulled the trigger on buying anything yet. And my goal is, as we move into February, to do this same exact thing and to continue to grow this second life bucket and hopefully make this same type of substantial deposit, okay? So that was the first completion, the January no buy challenge and establishing the second life bucket. Now, I will tell you, like I said, the second part of this is me planning for my second life and being very intentional about where I do spend and splurge in a sense, and where I really cut back and just save or just pass on that type of thing. Okay, so I got my notes here and it's very short, but the very first thing that I am thinking about that I will splurge on in a sense is wellness, okay? Wellness is very important to me because I like to keep my body moving. I want to be healthy. I want to live long and be able to enjoy my second life, right? So with that being said, in January, y'all, let me just tell y'all now, I'm a Pilates girl. So in January, I really honed in on my body and getting movement and staying consistent throughout the week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm in the gym, whether that's doing my walks, my runs, just getting some movement in, and possibly my weightlifting, right? On Tuesdays, I have decided to do Pilates, and I started this at the very beginning of January. I found a really cute boutique style studio near my house, and I'm loving it. It's very intimate. The classes are only 3 people, and then you can do private sessions, which I've done a couple of those. So what I have done all January is have done Tuesday classes in the evening, and then every other Friday I'm off. So every other Friday I also do Pilates at the studio. And I'm loving how strong I feel after the class. I am loving that. So with that being said, that is a part of my wellness bucket. And because of course the classes cost €45 for group classes, and then a private session is €90. So I get that may be very steep for some. And like I said, as I'm moving intentionally, cutting out some other things that I don't need to be buying, and then creating my wellness bucket for myself, or prioritizing my wellness, I think is a good thing. And so here's a tip. Do what you need to do in 2026 to prepare for your second life, whether that is adding certain things and removing certain things, however you need to do it. But let's just be intentional, which is the goal. So because like I said, wellness is my thing, I'm going to absolutely continue to splurge on the Pilates classes because I'm absolutely loving them. Loving how strong I feel after the class, and just loving how the lean muscles start to come in, and just, yeah, I want to be right for the summertime. So I'm thinking like I said, that's going to be one thing that I will splurge on. One thing I also will probably splurge on, but I have looked at my calendar for the year of 2026 and I don't have much of this, but this is travel. Now, I don't, like I said, have a lot of trips planned this year. Like last year, 2025 was lit. I was traveling. Legitly, I was going, it feels like every month. But this year, that is not going to be the case. I'm hitting my 5-year wedding anniversary, and we have decided to not take a trip this year for some other reasons, and then we'll get into that in the future, but I'll share that with you guys. It's a secret. So, but we have decided to not take a trip. And then the bucket of money that I would have been spending on a trip for our anniversary, I'm gonna put that towards something else. So I kind of have already allocated my travel plans. I don't think I'm gonna travel for my birthday this year. Last year I did travel to Canary Islands. That was beautiful. I'm kind of, good with not doing anything this year. I'm not traveling for, I think I have one trip planned back to the US, and that is like in June timeframe. So like I said, I kind of have looked at the calendar, no big trips planned. And my goal there is, though, if I do need to travel for whatever reason, comfort will be priority, right? Like I absolutely want to travel in comfort. So I feel like in that sense, I may splurge, seeing as though I do not have a bunch of trips planned. So that is the second thing that I have just considered, okay, and made a note of. That's not a promise because I may not even really do much. One thing I think we do have on our list this year is we will do our family vacation. New Year's, we pretty much travel somewhere every year for New Year's. And we may go back to the Middle East, i.e., I don't know, Dubai or somewhere. I don't know. But in that sense, because that's the only trip that I'm thinking other than our trip home, like it would be okay to do a little bit of a splurge there. So that would be in 2026, kind of how I look at travel, and whether I'm splurging or not. So the last thing that is in this that I'm going to be kind of putting to the side and saving on this, or kind of passing on this thing, which is the shopping, okay? And I'm sure I will buy something, but the goal in that is going to be, I'm going to really do that with intention. Hence the reason why I have opted to do kind of like the no buy months, and we started with January, we're in February, because I want to be very intentional about what I add into my wardrobe. And honestly, looking at what I have, I don't need much, and I'm working towards having a signature wardrobe, and they are quality pieces, so that stuff should be serving me throughout the years, and I'll replace as needed, but I don't need to add more is the point. So in that category, I definitely plan to save or pass kind of on that. That is one area where I will be saving. So that area will also allow me to continue to grow the Second Life bucket, because normally, y'all, I would be shopping. But I'm not going to do that because it's really, honest to God, no need. So those are 3 areas where I think splurge or save kind of idea. And I will show you, I forgot if I hadn't already showed you guys, some of the things that were on my list. And honestly, it was like a work bag that was a little bit more functional, that had something other than just a shoulder strap, because I am a top handle girly, so I would prefer the option of a top handle and a shoulder strap. And the current bag that I'm carrying is just a shoulder strap. So I was like, oh, that would be nice to, add another work bag in there somewhere. And I feel like I saw one that I thought was really cute, so I put that on the list. I don't have any tortoise shelled shades, sunnies. So I thought about, oh, that would be really nice to add. And I saw 12 PM Studios had launched one, and I was like, oh, those are cute. Maybe I could add that. And then what else? I think the other thing I was thinking to add to the list was workout clothes for my Pilates life now. So like I said, not a whole lot, but that is kind of what I am thinking in 2026 in order to better prepare us for our second life. We have to really, like I said, be intentional with how we move and the decisions we make around what we're adding and what we're taking away from our spending and just our lives in general, because it's not just about the finances, it's about the health, it's about the energy, it's about how we show up as a whole, right? So being very intentional in 2026 to help prepare us, because as the years progress, we may need to get a little bit more risk averse. We may need to become a little bit more rigid with the decision making with our finances. We may need to do some things. And so this is just feelers to see what we need to do and how we need to do it as we move into, this is our first year of our second life planning and, you know, retirement planning. So with that being said, let me know in the comments what you are thinking, what you are going to, you know, splurge on versus save in order to continue to prepare for your second life. Let me know what you think, and have any of these categories, you know, provoked any thoughts? Is there something that you think you should add to the list and maybe I'm not thinking about? Just throw some ideas out there and let us know below kind of what you're thinking and where you are in the planning phase. If you want to drop some numbers and show what you deposited in the initiation, not the initiation, but the initialization of your second life bucket with your initial deposit, like drop the numbers if you want. Like, let's show up, let's glow up, let's do this together. And like I said, I am grateful that we are here. Don't forget to catch up if you have not already done so. If you are still wanting to go along this process with us, oh my God, we got dogs outside barking, y'all. If you want to go along this process with us and you want to have the Second Life Planner, it'll be linked below. Go ahead and tag that. And I'm so excited about the future and what we're going to do here. And yeah, until next time, bye.